This is one of the things that I feel really proud of at Impala is that we really work hard on our interview process. And I think for anybody who's interviewed at a large tech company, we're becoming a little bit notorious, or they're becoming a bit notorious rather, for the hoops you have to jump through. So at Impala, we have a screening interview to start with. So that's a chat with me where I get a chance to just understand a little bit about um, how they work, who they are, where they've come from. Um, then we'll have a technical interview, and that will involve an engineer or product manager sitting in and learning a little bit more. So more focused questions that really deal with kind of the specifics of how that person works. We have a culture interview, and we have a following CEO chat. But I think the part that I feel really positive about is that those interviews, the latter two, are not pass or fail interviews. We don't really have the concept of like a culture fail. Um, it's much more about that person learning more about Impala, learning more about how we work, and is it the right position for them? And I think throughout that interview process, one of the things that I always try to do as well is to give the person who's interviewing a chance to ask me questions, ask people on the team questions. Um, I think it's a trap that a lot of businesses kind of fall into, is assuming that somebody, um, is kind of a guaranteed hire, that they don't have to sell the role to them, they don't have to sell the company to them. So for me, like whilst there are the formalized stages in an interview, the core kind of thing that I'm always hoping for is to give that person an insight into how they would fit in, what things are like at Impala, to really help them to understand and to picture themselves in that role. I think that this is a really important thing when you think about people who are from different backgrounds, or people who are maybe not neurotypical, people who come from underrepresented groups in tech. It's really easy to be very kind of normative about a role, and to talk about a company in a way that excludes people. And I think that's a really big part of the interview process, is to be as vulnerable as possible, to really to open up about what the environment is like, to open up about your expectations, because um, the goal should be that somebody feels comfortable regardless of who they are, to be part of that process. um, I think that if you rely too much on documentation, you rely too much on reading things about the company, then you're not letting that person understand how they would fit in, how, like, not just them as a candidate, as a vague term, that very specific person who has gone to the effort of filling in your application form, sending their CV, taking time out of their day to speak to you. um, and like for me, that's the thing I really want, is that somebody can be their honest self with you, not just because of how they're going to work and do the job, but what they're going to bring as a person to that role. Because in design, I mean, in every role, it's vital to have a diverse team, but in design especially, you can miss so much about the people using your products. You can miss so much about the context, the lived experiences that people bring, if you don't have a diverse team. Um, and I think especially the fact that design teams tend to be smaller means that it is vital that you don't just end up with a very homogenous, very specific group of people who bring a single set of experiences to the table. It's a thing that's really, really important to me. Um, I mean, obviously, I'm uh, unless I'm wearing a camera filter. Oh, you see, I'm wearing a camera filter. I'm not exactly part of any underrepresented group in tech. If anything, I am the overrepresented group in tech. So I strongly believe that the entire interview process needs to be structured properly to enable people from every background to be able to participate. And this is not just about how we do things. Like for a long time, Impala did what we called, I'm trying to remember the term, but anyway, we didn't conduct interviews with cameras on, and the idea was to remove bias from the process. Um, and this was something which we stopped later on, because obviously it has impacts on how you can relate to the person there. Not seeing a person is just as impactful, and there are a lot of things that you can pick up outside of what's on the camera. But I think that we're kind of accommodating of people's choice, maybe not to keep their camera on, people's choice to want to do an interview. I'm trying to remember the specifics if this is something we do, or if it's something that I've made up, but believe that we are accommodating people who maybe don't want to do um, synchronous video interviewing as well. Certainly, if you need specifics on that one, I can come back because I don't want to start saying we do things that we don't do. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think this is the thing: is like the face to face interview. Um, as a kind of a thing that exists in hiring, um, already excludes a large bunch of people who, through no fault of their own, have requirements about how to bring their best selves. And I think that that's the important thing to consider in interviewing, is not how do you trip up a candidate or how do you punish them for having the temerity to sit down with you, but how do you help them to bring their best and most authentic selves.